It is Friday morning and you made it. You made it through Monday when everything felt uncertain. You made it through Tuesday when the weight of the week was still fresh and heavy. You made it through Wednesday when the middle of everything felt like there was no end in sight. You made it through Thursday when your body was tired and your spirit was stretched thin. And here you are now on the morning of Friday, May the 22nd, still standing, still breathing, still here. That is not luck. That is grace. And before this day takes one single hour from you, before the world makes its demands and the noise begins and the responsibilities line up at the door of your attention, this moment right here belongs to something far more important than any of it. This moment belongs to the one who carried you through every single day of this week when you were not sure you could carry yourself. So just breathe for a second. Just be still, because you are in the presence of a God who has been watching over you since Sunday and has not looked away once. Not once. Not in the hard moments. Not in the quiet moments. Not in the moments when you felt completely alone. He was there in all of them, and He is here now in this one. Father, I come to you this Friday morning with a heart that is full and a soul that is ready to exhale. This week held things I did not expect. It held conversations that drained me and situations that tested me and moments that made me wonder if I was going to be okay. But here I am on the other side of all of it, and the only explanation for that is you. The only reason I am still standing is because you were holding me up in the moments when I had no strength left to hold myself. Your word says in Isaiah 40, verse 31, that those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. And Lord, this week I needed that promise more than I knew how to say. There were days when I felt like I was barely walking, barely putting one foot in front of the other, and yet somehow I kept going. I kept going because you kept me. I kept going because underneath every tired step was a strength that did not come from me. It came from you, and I am grateful for it this morning in a way that words can barely contain. This Friday, I want to do something I do not always take the time to do properly. I want to thank you. Not quickly, not as a formality, not as a line at the beginning of a prayer that I rush past to get to the requests. I want to genuinely stop and thank you for your grace, because your grace is the reason this week did not break me. Your grace is the reason the hard moments passed. Your grace is the reason that even in the middle of uncertainty and stress and difficulty, there were small pockets of peace, small moments of unexpected beauty, small reminders that you were near, and I do not want to move past them without acknowledging them. Thank you for the morning that felt impossible and then became manageable. Thank you for the conversation that went better than I feared it would. Thank you for the provision that came when I did not know how the need was going to be met. Thank you for the moment of quiet in the middle of a loud week when I could feel you breathing peace into a situation that felt anything but peaceful. Thank you for the sleep you gave me on the nights when my mind wanted to race. Thank you for the strength you gave me on the mornings when I woke up already tired. Thank you for carrying what I was never supposed to carry alone. There is something the Book of Lamentations says that has always moved me deeply. It says, because of the Lord's great love we are not consumed, for His compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is His faithfulness, and I have been holding on to that this week. The compassions of God are new every morning, not recycled, not diminished from the day before, not conditional on how well you performed yesterday. New. Every single morning they are fresh and full and completely available to you. And that means that right now on this Friday morning, you have access to a compassion from God that is brand new, that has never been used before, that is specifically calibrated for what you are carrying today. That is not a small thing. That is everything. God, I want to lay this week down before you now. I want to take everything that accumulated from Monday to this morning, and I want to place it at your feet. Not because I am giving up, not because I am weak, but because your word is clear in Matthew 11, verses 28 through 30, where Jesus himself said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." I want that rest, God. I want the kind of rest that only comes from releasing what I was never designed to carry. And so right now I am consciously, deliberately, and with full intention laying down the stress of this week. I am laying down the conversations that did not resolve the way I needed them to. I am laying down the financial pressures that followed me from Monday morning to Thursday night. I am laying down the anxiety about things I cannot control, the worry about people I love who are going through hard things, the fear about situations that have not yet worked out. I am laying all of it at the feet of Jesus, and I am trusting that he is strong enough to hold what I am releasing. Because he is more than strong enough. And if you are listening to this right now and you have been carrying something heavy this week, something that you have not been able to say out loud to anyone, something that you have kept to yourself because you did not know how to explain it, or because you did not want to burden someone else with it, I want you to know that you can release it right now too. You can open your hands and let it go in this moment. God already knows what it is. He already knows the full weight of it. He already knows every detail of it that you have not been able to articulate, and he is not overwhelmed by it. He is not unprepared for it. He is not asking you to figure it out before you bring it to him. 1 Peter 5 verse 7 says, "Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you." Not some of it. Not the manageable parts. All of it. Because he cares. The reason you can release it is not because it is small. It is because the one you are releasing it to is immeasurably great. Father, I release the heaviness of this week into your hands right now. Every burden, every worry, every unresolved thing, every unanswered question, every situation that I looked at this week and thought, I do not know how this is going to turn out. I release all of it. And in exchange, I receive what your word promises. I receive peace. I receive rest. I receive the lightness that comes from a soul that has stopped trying to carry what only you were designed to carry. And I want to talk about peace for a moment because I think peace is one of the most misunderstood gifts in the life of a believer. We tend to think that peace comes when the circumstances settle, when the problem is solved, when the diagnosis changes, when the relationship heals, when the finances stabilize, when the situation resolves. But that is not the peace that God offers. The peace that God offers does not wait for the circumstances to change before it shows up. It comes into the middle of the unchanged circumstances, and it stands there like a wall, like a guardian, like a presence that refuses to be moved by what is happening around it. Philippians 4 verses 6 and 7 says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." The peace of God transcends understanding. That means it does not make logical sense. It does not compute according to the natural order of things. It is a peace that shows up in the middle of a storm and refuses to explain itself because it does not operate by the rules of human logic. It operates by the rule of a God who is sovereign over every storm and who has already seen the end of every situation that feels uncertain to you this morning. That is the peace I am asking for this Friday. Not peace that depends on Friday being an easy day, but peace that will stand firm even if Friday brings something unexpected. Peace that will hold even if the weekend brings a challenge I am not prepared for. peace that is rooted so deeply in the truth of who you are that nothing this day or this weekend can uproot it. God, you have been so faithful this week, and I do not say that lightly. I say it because I have seen it. There were moments this week when something could have gone terribly wrong, and it did not. There were moments when I could have said the wrong thing and somehow said the right thing instead. There were moments when I was on the edge of panic and a calm settled over me that I did not manufacture. That was you. That was your faithfulness showing up in ways I almost missed because I was so focused on what was going wrong that I almost did not notice what you were quietly holding together. Forgive me for the moments this week when I forgot you were there. Forgive me for the moments when I tried to handle things in my own strength and got frustrated when my own strength was not enough. Forgive me for the times when worry took up more real estate in my heart than trust did. I am not perfect at this. I am still learning what it means to walk in faith in the middle of the real, messy, complicated details of a real life. But I am grateful that you are patient with the learning. I am grateful that your mercies do not run out when I fall short, and I receive your grace over every moment this week where I missed the mark, because grace is what this morning is about. Grace is the word that holds this whole week together, not my performance, not how well I handled the hard things, not whether I kept it together or fell apart or somewhere in between. Grace. Unearned, undeserved, unrelenting grace from a God who looked at this week in its entirety, saw every moment where I stumbled, and loved me through all of it without condition. Romans 5 verse 8 says, "But God demonstrates his own love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. While we were still, not after we got it together, not after we cleaned ourselves up, not after we had a good week and earned his favor back. While we were still in the middle of our mess, his love was already moving toward us. That is the God we serve. That is the grace we are receiving this morning, and it is enough to make you want to cry and worship at the same time. So this morning I choose gratitude, not because the week was perfect, not because everything went the way I hoped it would, but because grace covered the parts that did not, and mercy was new every morning when I needed it most, and the God of the universe counted me worthy of his attention and his love even on the days when I felt anything but worthy. I want to pray now for the emotional weight that this week may have left behind, because sometimes the hardest things about a difficult week are not the circumstances themselves, but what those circumstances do to us on the inside. They leave residue. They leave a quiet sadness or a low-level anxiety or a weariness that is not just physical, but something deeper, something that sleep does not fully fix, something that sits in the spirit and needs a different kind of restoration than rest alone can provide. If you are carrying that kind of weight this morning, if there is something inside you that feels bruised or tender, or just deeply tired in a way you cannot fully explain, I want to speak directly to that place right now. God sees it. He sees the part of you that is hurting that you have not shown anyone. He sees the smile you put on for other people while something inside was aching. He sees the brave face you wore to get through the hard conversations and the difficult moments. And he is not asking you to keep wearing it right now. Right now, in this moment, you can take it off. You can be honest with him about how you actually feel, because he is not a God who needs you to perform wellness in his presence. He is a God who said in Psalm 34 verses 17 and 18 that the righteous cry out and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their troubles. The Lord is close to the broken-hearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Close to the broken-hearted, not distant from them, not disappointed in them, not waiting for them to pull themselves together before he will draw near. Close. That word means something. It means that the places in you that feel the most broken are the places where God is the most present. It means that the ache you have been carrying quietly through this week is not a sign that God has forgotten you. It is actually the very thing that draws him near, because he does not run from broken things. He runs toward them. So God, I bring the broken places before you this Friday morning. Every heart that is listening to this that has been carrying grief this week, bring it healing. Every person who has been battling fear, bring it peace. Every soul that has been struggling with loneliness, let them feel your nearness in a way that is unmistakable. Every person who woke up this morning not sure they could face another day, remind them that you are the God who makes a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert, as Isaiah 43 verse 19 declares. Remind them that you are still working, still moving, still bringing life to the places that feel dry and barren and beyond recovery. You are not finished with anyone who is listening to this prayer this morning. I want to think about what it means to trust God with the future right now, because Friday has a particular quality to it. It sits at the edge of the week and the beginning of the weekend, and there is something about that threshold that can feel both like relief and like anxiety at the same time. Relief because the structure of the week is loosening. Anxiety because the unstructured time can sometimes be when the thoughts we've been keeping at bay all week start to creep in, when the quiet becomes loud in a different way. And for some people listening this morning, the weekend ahead holds things that are uncertain, conversations that need to happen, situations that need to be faced, health concerns, family tensions, financial realities, decisions that cannot be postponed much longer. And the weight of those things can sit on a Friday morning like a cloud on the horizon that you know is moving toward you, and you are not sure if you are ready for what it is bringing. But here is what I know about the God we serve. He is already in the weekend. He is already in Saturday morning. He is already in the conversation you are dreading on Sunday. He is already in the situation you are worried about that will unfold over the next 2 days. He has already been there, and he has already prepared a way through it. And Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us that the plans he has for us are plans for our welfare and not for our harm, plans to give us a future and a hope. Those plans do not pause for the weekend. They are active right now. They are unfolding right now. And the God who holds those plans has not for one single second lost sight of where you are or where you are going. So, I release the weekend to you, Father. I release Saturday before it has even arrived. I release Sunday before I know what it holds. I release the conversations and the situations and the moments I cannot yet see. I place all of it in your hands because your hands are the safest place any future moment can be. And I choose to walk into this Friday, not with my fists clenched trying to control what I cannot control, but with open hands that are trusting the God who holds all things. Joshua 1 verse 9 says, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go, not wherever you go as long as it is comfortable. Not wherever you go as long as things are going smoothly, wherever, into the hard conversations, into the uncertain situations, into the moments that feel beyond your capacity. He will be with you in all of them. And I want to pray for strength this morning. Not the kind of strength that comes from having everything figured out, but the kind of strength that comes from knowing the one who has everything figured out and choosing to lean on him completely. The strength that says, I do not need to have all the answers because I trust the one who does. The strength that does not depend on circumstances being favorable, but on a God who is always faithful. That is the strength I need for this Friday. That is the strength I need for this weekend. And I am asking you for it right now. Strengthen everyone who is listening to this. Strengthen the one who has been fighting a battle that no one around them can see. Strengthen the one who has been holding things together for everyone else while quietly falling apart on the inside. Strengthen the one who is walking into a situation this weekend that requires more courage than they feel they have. Strengthen the one who has been in a season of waiting that has gone on longer than they expected and whose faith is being tested by the silence. 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9 says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." And that means that the very place where you feel most inadequate, most insufficient, most out of your depth, is the exact place where God's power is most able to show up. You do not have to be strong enough. You just have to be willing to let the one who is infinitely strong work through the places where you are not. That is freedom. That is the kind of freedom that changes how you walk into a Friday morning, not carrying the pressure of having to be enough, but resting in the knowledge that He is always more than enough and that His enoughness covers every gap in yours. Father, I want to take a moment and just thank you for Jesus, because when I think about what it means to release the burdens of this week, I cannot do it without thinking about the cross, because the cross is where Jesus already took the heaviest burden that any human being could ever carry. He took the weight of our sin and our shame and our brokenness, and He bore it completely so that we would never have to. And everything we are releasing this morning, every anxiety, every fear, every regret, every mistake, every weight, Jesus already made a way for all of it to be lifted. He already said it is finished. He already did the work. And so, when we come to God this morning and we lay things down, we are not asking Him to do something He has not already done. We are simply stepping into what was purchased for us on the cross. We are receiving what grace already provided. We are walking into a freedom that was won for us before we even knew we needed it. That is what makes Friday morning in the presence of God so sacred. It is not just the end of a week. It is a moment of remembrance, a moment of returning, a moment of saying, I know what you did for me, and I have not forgotten, and I am not taking it for granted, even on the hard weeks. Even on the weeks when grace felt like the only thing standing between me and despair, especially on those weeks. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you for the cross. Thank you for the empty tomb. Thank you for the victory that was already won before this week began, and that remains fully intact, no matter what this week brought. I want to pray for healing now because this week may have left some wounds. Not necessarily physical ones, although I know there are people listening to this who are dealing with real physical pain and real health challenges, and I am going to pray for them, but I also want to pray for the wounds that are harder to see. The wounds that come from words that were said to you this week that landed harder than the person who said them probably knew. The wounds that come from expectations that were not met, from hope that was deferred, from love that was not reciprocated the way you needed it to be. The wounds that come from carrying too much for too long without enough support. God, you are the healer of all of it. Not just the physical body, but the whole person, the soul, the emotions, the deep interior places where we are most vulnerable and where wounds tend to go deepest. Your word says in Psalm 147 verse 3 that He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds, binds them up. That is an active image. It is the image of someone who sees a wound and moves toward it with intention and with care, and with the specific purpose of bringing restoration. That is what God does with the wounded places in us. He does not ignore them. He does not tell us they are not that bad. He draws near to them, and He heals them. So I ask for healing this morning over every wounded place in every person who is listening. Heal what the weak broke. Restore what discouragement took. Bring back what fear stole. And let every person listening to this finish this prayer feeling more whole than they did when they started it. Not because circumstances have changed, but because the presence of God has touched the places that needed touching, and something in them has shifted. Because that is what happens in the presence of God. Things shift. Not always in ways you can immediately explain, but you feel it. A heaviness lifts, a clarity settles. A peace that you did not have 10 minutes ago begins to move through you like a slow, steady river, finding every dry place and bringing water to it. That is what worship does. That is what prayer does. That is what simply stopping and being still in the presence of the living God does. It changes the atmosphere of your soul, and I believe that is happening right now for everyone who is here in this moment. I believe something is shifting. I believe there are burdens that were present at the beginning of this prayer that are lighter now. I believe there are fears that were loud at the start of this morning that are quieter now. I believe there are hearts that came into this moment feeling far from God that are feeling closer now, because God is faithful and He meets us where we are and He does not leave us there. Let me pray for something specific now. Let me pray for rest, real rest, the kind of rest that is more than sleep. The kind of rest that Hebrews 4 verse 9 talks about when it speaks of a Sabbath rest for the people of God. A rest that is spiritual in nature, a rest that comes from ceasing to strive, from releasing the need to control, from stepping out of the exhausting cycle of trying to figure everything out and simply trusting the God who already has it figured out. I pray that this weekend would be a genuine season of rest for everyone listening. Rest for your mind. Rest for your body. Rest for your emotions. Rest for your spirit. I pray that you would be able to set down the to-do list for a little while and just be present. Present with the people you love. Present in the moments of quiet. Present in the small, beautiful things that a busy week makes it too easy to miss. I pray that God would restore to you the joy of simply being alive and being loved by a God who thinks you are worth every bit of the grace He has poured out on you. Because that is the truth of who you are this Friday morning. You are someone that God looked at this week in all of your imperfection and all of your struggle and all of your very ordinary humanness and chose to love without reservation. You are someone He carried when you could not carry yourself. You are someone He protected from things you did not even know were coming. You are someone He provided for in ways that sometimes look like coincidence to the outside world, but that you knew in your spirit were the hand of God moving on your behalf. You are seen, you are known, you are loved, and no week, no matter how hard it was, can change that. Psalm 23 says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul." That is not the language of a God who is distant and unmoved. That is the language of a shepherd who is attentive and close and actively involved in the well-being of the one in His care. He makes me lie down. He leads me. He restores. Every verb in that passage is God in motion toward you. God doing something on your behalf. God engaged in the active work of your restoration and your care. That is the God you are talking to this morning. The shepherd who sees every sheep, who knows each one by name, who leaves the 99 to find the one who has wandered, who carries the lamb that is too tired to walk. If you have felt like the tired lamb this week, if you have felt like the one who wandered off into anxiety and worry and discouragement and could not find your way back on your own, know that the shepherd came for you. He is here right now, and He is carrying you back into the green pastures and the still waters where your soul can breathe again. I want to speak now to the faithfulness of God because I think it is easy on a difficult week to forget how faithful He has actually been. The enemy of our souls is very skilled at making us focus on what did not go right while making us overlook everything that did. He wants us to build a case against God from the evidence of hard circumstances while ignoring the overwhelming evidence of grace and provision and protection that is also present in those same circumstances. But this morning, I want to build the other case. I want to remind you and remind myself of the faithfulness of a God who has never once broken a promise, who has never once started something in you and abandoned it, who has never once said he would be with you and then been absent when you needed him most. 1 Corinthians 1 verse 9 says God is faithful, who has called you into fellowship with his Son Jesus Christ our Lord. God is faithful, not sometimes, not when circumstances are good, not when you deserve it. God is faithful as a matter of his nature, as a permanent attribute of who he is, as something that does not change regardless of what changes around it. That means that the faithful God who carried you through Monday is the same faithful God who is with you on this Friday morning. The faithful God who provided for you last month is the same faithful God who will provide for you in the month ahead. The faithful God who healed you before is the same faithful God who is working on your healing right now. His faithfulness does not expire, it does not deplete, it does not take breaks. It is as constant and as certain as he is, and he is eternal, which means his faithfulness toward you is eternal. Which means that no matter how long this season has been, no matter how many weeks have felt like this week, no matter how many mornings you have come to prayer with the same heavy things, his faithfulness in the middle of all of it has not wavered, and it is not going to start wavering now. God, let that truth land deep in the heart of everyone listening right now. Let it go past the surface level of knowing it intellectually and let it settle into the place where we actually live. The place where the doubts form and the fears take root and the discouragement likes to set up residence. Let your faithfulness crowd out every lie that says, you are not working. Let it silence every whisper that says things will never change. Let it fill every anxious corner of every heart that has come to this moment carrying more than they should be carrying alone. You are faithful, and we are choosing to stand on that this Friday morning. I want to close by praying over the hours ahead, because this Friday is a real day with real moments in it that you will walk through, and I want those moments to be covered. I pray over your morning, the first few hours after this prayer ends, the moments when you transition from this quiet, sacred space back into the movement of life. I pray that the peace you have found here would not evaporate the moment the world starts making noise again. I pray that it would travel with you. I pray that it would be like a deep root that holds even when the wind picks up, even when the day gets demanding, even when something happens that you did not see coming. I pray over every conversation you will have today, every interaction, every moment of connection or confrontation or negotiation or collaboration. I pray that God's wisdom would be the intelligence that guides your words, that His grace would be the quality that shapes how you treat people, that His love would be the thing people feel most clearly when they are around you today. I pray over any hard thing that Friday may still hold. If there is something difficult coming later today, if there is a conversation that needs to happen or a situation that needs to be faced, I pray for the courage and the grace and the words to handle it well. And I pray that on the other side of it you will look back and see the hand of God in it. Even if it does not go perfectly, even if it is messy and complicated, you will see His faithfulness in it. I pray over your evening, the transition into the weekend, the moment when you close the chapter on this week and open the first page of the next 2 days. I pray that it is a gentle transition, that there is something good waiting for you in it, a moment of laughter, a moment of connection, a moment of beauty that reminds you that life is still full of grace even when the week was full of hard things. And I pray over your sleep tonight, that it would be deep and restorative and that God would speak to you in the quiet of it, that you would wake up tomorrow morning having genuinely released what this week held and ready for what the next season is bringing. Because there is something new coming. There is always something new coming from the hands of a God who makes all things new. Revelation 21 verse 5 says, "He who was seated on the throne said, I am making everything new." Everything. Not some things. Not the easy things. Not the things that were already mostly fine. Everything. Including the things in your life that feel old and stagnant and stuck. Including the situations that have not moved in longer than you think they should have. Including the relationships that feel like they cannot be restored. Including the dreams that feel like they have been buried too long to be revived. He is in the business of making things new, and he has not retired from that business, and he has not run out of the capacity to do it. Your new thing is coming. It may not have arrived yet, but it is on its way. And this Friday morning you are one day closer to it than you were yesterday. Father, I thank you for this time. I thank you that you are the kind of God who makes space for mornings like this one, who makes space for us to come to you before the day begins and just be with you. Not performing, not pretending, not trying to be something we are not. Just coming as we are, with what we have, from where we are, and finding that you are already there waiting, already present, already ready to receive everything we bring and to give back something better in return. I thank you for the week that just passed, even the hard parts of it, because nothing that happens to a child of God is wasted. Romans 8 verse 28 says, "We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." All things, the confusing things, the painful things, the things that did not make sense, the things that still do not make sense. All of them are being worked by a God who sees the whole picture from an angle we do not have access to, and he is making something good from all of it. You will see it eventually. Maybe not today, maybe not this weekend, but you will see it. And when you do, you will understand why the hard parts were necessary. You will understand why the timing was what it was. You will understand why the path went through the valley before it arrived at the mountaintop. And in that moment of understanding, you will be grateful not just for the good parts of your story, but for all of it, because all of it was being used by a God who loves you too much to waste a single moment of your experience. So walk into this Friday with your head lifted, not because everything is perfect, but because the God of the universe is walking with you into it. And his track record of faithfulness is perfect, even when your circumstances are not. Walk into this Friday with your hands open, not grasping and controlling and trying to manage every outcome. Open hands that are trusting a faithful God with the things they cannot hold. Walk into this Friday with your heart full of the gratitude that this morning has stirred in it, full of the remembrance of grace, full of the peace that transcends understanding, full of the quiet, settled knowledge that you are seen and known and loved and carried by a God who has never once let you down and never once will. This week is done. You survived it. You did not just survive it. You made it through it with the grace of God wrapped around every moment of it. And that is worth celebrating. That is worth stopping and acknowledging. That is worth the tears that might be forming right now, because sometimes the relief of reaching the end of a hard week is a sacred thing, and there is no shame in feeling it fully. Let the tears come if they need to. Let the exhale happen that has been waiting all week. Let the relief of knowing that you are held and loved and not alone settle into the deepest places of your spirit and rest there, because you are held. You are loved. You are not alone. And no matter what this week was, and no matter what the next one brings, those three things are unchangingly, permanently, absolutely true. In the name of Jesus, who carried his cross so that you would never have to carry yours alone. In the name of the one who said it is finished and meant every word of it. In the name of the faithful, gracious, endlessly loving God who has been with you every single day of this week, and who will be with you every single day of every week that follows, thank you for all of it. For the grace that held when everything else felt like it was slipping, for the mercy that was new every morning, even on the mornings when you did not feel like you deserved it, for the peace that came in the moments when peace had no logical reason to be present, for the strength that showed up when yours ran out, for the love that never once asked you to earn it, for carrying every burden this week that was too heavy for human hands, for being the kind of God that we can come to on a Friday morning exactly as we are and find exactly what we need. Great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness on this Friday, May the 22nd. Great is your faithfulness over everything that this day still holds. Great is your faithfulness over this weekend. Great is your faithfulness over this life. Amen. And if this prayer has met you somewhere real this morning, if something in it spoke to a specific part of what you have been carrying, please share it with someone who needs to hear it today, because someone in your life is sitting with a heavy week behind them, and they need to know that the grace of God is sufficient for it, that the faithfulness of God covers it, that there is a God who sees them in the middle of it and is not indifferent to what they are carrying. Be the reason someone finds this reminder today. Share it, pass it on, and let the grace that has been poured out over this prayer be multiplied to everyone it reaches. God bless you on this Friday. May your day be lighter than the week that preceded it. May your weekend be filled with moments of rest and joy and connection. May you feel the presence of God in the ordinary hours of the next 2 days in ways that remind you He is not only in the big sacred moments, but in all of them. In the coffee cup and the quiet morning and the laughter and the simple, unhurried hours of a weekend that belongs to you. You made it to Friday, and that alone is a testimony worth telling.